Welcome. You have been selected to join an exclusive and powerful group of people, changing the face of history as we know it, led by our distinguished leaders, Ryan and Daniel. Welcome in, Assemblymen.
Hey Ryan, I've got a question for you.
What's that, Dan?
Yeah, if you were trapped on a deserted island with an unlimited supply of any one Easter candy, what would you choose and why?
Oh, brother. Um, okay, so are we talking like how big is this island?
This is, have you seen Pirates of the Caribbean: Curse of the Black Pearl?
Oh, of
The first
course.
one.
Only
It
the
is
best
the.
movie ever made.
I would debate that, but that's for a later segment.
Oh yeah.
Uh, it's like the size of that Rum Runner Island that they're on in the first movie.
Oh, brother. Okay. So I'm out in the desert island. I got a few palm trees then, but no coconuts. The only thing I get is candy.
Hmm. Choose wisely.
Oh, oh man. I think I think I'm gonna have to go with one of my favorite candies of all time. And when they find me dead from diabetes on this island, I'm going to have consumed a metric ton of Cadbury cream eggs.
I knew that was going to be your answer. That is a solid choice. Runner up only to Marshmallow Peeps, correct?
Oh my gosh, I would rather die of sun poisoning on that island than
Well,
eat
good
Peeps.
news. If either of these candies is your only source of nutrition, you will in fact die.
When they find me, I'm going to be about 650 pounds.
They will do a TLC show about my 600-pound life on this deserted island.
Oh, okay. So if you had to live on this
Um,
island, what would you pick?
I think I would go with jelly beans because there's like a limitless variety of flavors and they're not chocolate. And I don't think the chocolate is going to hold up well in that tropical sun.
That's a fair point. That's a fair point. Although I could, with the Cadbury eggs, I could dig down a little bit, like they had that rum in the movie, like underground.
Fair point.
I don't know if I want to put in that much work for my eggs though.
Yeah, that's a lot of effort.
But with the jelly beans, are we talking like Jelly Bellies or?
Oh yeah, name brand for sure. If I get a
Oh,
choice,
okay,
name brand Jelly Bellies.
nice. All right. So Daniel, I got a question for you.
Yeah, what's up, Ryan?
If you had to listen to one song, and that's it for the rest of your life, but every day of your life for 3 hours straight, that song played, what would that song be?
Okay, so two clarifying questions here, Ryan. Number one, am I the only one who hears the song when it plays for 3 hours?
Yes. You're the only one who hears it.
Okay. And then when does that 3 hours fall? Is that like when I'm at work for 3 hours, I just hear this song in my head, or is it like in the middle of the night?
It's a random time. So
Okay.
a random 3 hours throughout your day.
Gotcha.
And so, yeah, if you're at work and then all of a sudden it pops in your head, since you're the only one who can hear it, you're going to have to focus on your work
Okay.
while
Then
this
I
is playing.
then I have the perfect answer for this, and this is going to be a deep cut for most of our audience, but
Uh-oh.
bear with me. Go with me here. There is a song that I consider the greatest song ever made, and then remade. And it's the remade version that I would be listening to for the rest of my life. It is a song called All Star by a band called Smash Mouth. But the particular version is a version you can find on YouTube where
Oh, no.
every instrument is playing at a different tempo and in a different time signature. And every time I hear it, it makes me laugh. And that would be my one song. I think it is art, and I think it would stand the test of time.
So essentially, you're saying you want to go insane.
It's just the chorus. Every time it gets to the chorus and the drum comes in, and then like the bass is like a half measure behind.
Just a
and
little
then
late.
They just like, it's like a train wreck happening in 3.5 minutes. And that would be, I think, the song I would choose.
You don't think you'd get sick of that for the rest of your life?
No, because I've been listening to it for years already, and it still fills me with joy every time I hear it.
Well, that's fair. Good point.
Like, it is not music in the traditional sense, but there is something, like, it's so bad it's good about it. But what about you? What would you choose for one song to listen to for the rest of your life?
Okay, so this is the song that I'm gonna pick is an instrumental song, and it's from The Lord of the Rings, and it is the Shire music.
Is it the Taking the Hobbits to Isengard?
No, I'll go with the Potatoes one before the Taking the Hobbits to Isengard. No, I think I'd rather listen to the Shire music or one of the variations that involves both, like the music that was from Battle and the Shire music, because they had a mashup of that. I can't remember the specific name of the track, but I would choose that specifically.
Yeah. That is a really beautiful and like well-written song.
Oh man, it's so good.
Yeah, and with it being instrumental, you do have the benefit of like you can just kind of tune it out. It can just be happening in the background.
Yeah, stuff with words like All-Star, I would not be able to do anything for those 3 hours. My brain would not be able to handle that.
It would be the greatest thing in the history of the world.
Oh, brother.
So hello, everyone. Thank you for tuning in to the inaugural episode of Assemblymen, where it's okay to ask for directions. Each week, the plan is to have each episode kind of based around a theme, so that the segments that we're doing can be cohesive, that they can kind of center around one idea, whether that is a behavior or a character trait or just something that we find interesting to build an episode around. So without further ado, let's introduce this week's theme.
Today's theme.
Ryan, what is this week's theme?
Today's theme, our first theme of our first podcast, is on the subject of courage. Today we're talking about courage. What do you think of when I say the word courage, Dan?
Honestly, the first thing that comes to mind is the Cartoon Network show Courage the Cowardly Dog.
That's funny because when I was looking up stuff for this episode, that's all I could find, and it was really annoying.
And here's the thing: is like I've never actually seen an episode of that show.
Really?
Yeah. It was far too dark and scary for me and my brother to watch growing up.
I remember I tried to watch it at home one time, and my parents were not having that because they're like, "What is this? This is not a kids show." Some of that stuff is still freaky.
Yeah, I've seen clips and I still have nightmares about them. So it's weird that I think about that. But no, courage. So when I think about courage, I think about kind of the ability to take a stand, to stand up for what's right, even in the midst of something that might be hard or scary or difficult.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the picture that pops into my head, there's about 2 of them, but the first one that popped into my head was from the recent, I don't know if you've seen this, it's kind of a lesser known movie, but the recent movie called Avengers Endgame.
Yeah, I am the one person in the entire planet who has not seen that movie.
Okay, so spoiler alert. There's a scene where Captain America is the last Avenger standing, and he has his broken shield standing on this basically looking like an apocalyptic hellscape of the battlefield, where he's standing up to Thanos and his entire army. And it's just him standing there with his shield as the sun is shining down on him as he stands alone against everybody. There's a scene in the comics that's what that's from. He's the last Avenger, and he's like, as long as one of us stands, you have not won. And I think of that, and it's just like, oh man, that takes guts, you know?
Yeah. There's a lot of courage, fortitude. There's a lot of words for that, but yeah, I like that's a really good picture, I think, of what we're talking about here when we're speaking about courage. So do we have like a particular example of you just gave a picture, an example, but is there another maybe more in-depth version of what we're talking about?
Oh man,
example.
so many examples, so many that to choose from. But to let the audience know, so those of you who are listening, each episode, not only do we have a theme, but we are going to be picking people or characters. Not they don't have to be real. This first one that we picked is a fictional character, but it's somebody who exemplifies the characteristic or the behavior that we are going to be talking about. And so this next segment, introducing that, is called Look at This Guy.
Look at this guy.
Today's Look at This Guy segment is going to be centering around one of my favorite fictional characters of all time. And I kind of alluded to the story that he is from at the beginning of this podcast. It honestly, I did not plan that out, but this character is very humble in nature and very unsuspecting of being somebody who can be a hero, and that is Samwise Gamgee. Samwise, for those of you who don't know, is from The Lord of the Rings, and he is the gardener of the main character who carries this ring of power into Mordor. Basically it's like hell, and they're trying to destroy this ring because it is the embodiment, the epitome of evil. Do you have anything to say about the story that we should fill people in on?
Yeah, basically, I mean, it is the prototypical fantasy story. There's wizards and elves and dwarves, but it's really about this last-ditch effort. A small group of people, including some small people, because the hobbits are very small, go to basically a suicide mission, basically to get rid of this ring, to destroy it, and to basically save the world.
Mm-hmm. So to give you a picture of Samwise and why I love him so much, Sam is he's a halfling, he's a hobbit, so he's like 3 feet tall. These all the hobbits in the story. There's 4 main ones, but we're going to be focusing on Sam today, but also Frodo. Frodo is the ring bearer. He's the one who actually has a will and is not, I don't want to say powerful enough, but he's strong enough to resist the temptations of the ring and the corruption of it. So he is tasked with carrying this ring. Well, Sam, his gardener, is he is just a loyal person, a fantastic individual to model, and his first and foremost goal is to follow Mr. Frodo to the ends of the earth and to protect him at all costs. And the relationship between them as they go is fantastic. Starting out, it's a wonderful relationship and something that you could admire, something that you might want, a friendship like that. But Frodo in the movies, so if you've only seen the movies, Frodo and Sam look about the same age, but in actuality, in the books, Frodo is like 50 years old and Sam is like 20s, 30s, something like that. So
yeah, quite a bit younger.
Yeah, and so Sam actually learns a lot from Frodo on this journey. But what I want to focus on is something that in the books is from the Two Towers and from the movies is from Return of the King. There's one specific scene that many of you listening probably know about, where Sam takes on one of the most disgusting and horrible monsters in the entirety of the Lord of the Rings universe, named Shelob. Shelob, for those of you who don't know, is a massive, gross spider.
It is just pure nightmare fuel.
It's like the size. It's bigger than like a trailer, like a what are those called? The trailer homes, you know? It's bigger than a 1-story house, basically. And this 3-foot something dude named Sam takes on Shelob, who, by all accounts in the canon, had never been defeated ever, or ever been wounded by somebody before. If you want to read it, there's a chapter called The Choices of Master Samwise that talks about the battle, or you could pull up the video of him fighting Shelob, and I'll give you the backstory as to why. So Frodo, his master, who he wants to protect and he is extremely loyal to, is trying to escape with him from Shelob's lair. They were led there by somebody who wants to kill them, and they're trying to get out, and they're just about out. and Shelob comes out of nowhere and attacks Frodo. And Sam is held up by somebody else, and he fights them off, and then turns around and realizes that Frodo has been taken down by Shelob. And he's like, "Oh no!" And a blind rage and fury and this crazy amount of courage wells up inside of him, and he takes on this spider who is probably 10 times bigger than he is, maybe even more so, and defeats the spider out of the sheer love and loyalty towards his master. What's funny about this, just a little side note, is Sam is credited for fighting Shelob and going forward and what's advancing his attack on her. But actually, Frodo is the first one in the books who actually does that. When they're in the tunnels, Frodo is the one who I think he inspired Sam in that, like, they saw Shelob approaching, and he pulls out that glowy star thing he has to see her, and then he starts to advance on her to fight her in the tunnels. And Sam's like, "We can't do that right now. We have to go." And so they turn around and leave, and then Sam he ends up being the one who actually fights her. So there's one point I want to make about this idea of courage, and that's after he beats Shelob, there's the scene where he looks at Frodo and he goes, "He's dead. What do I do?" He's heartbroken. He's like, what do I do? My mission is over. My master's dead. I failed. And then there's this inner dialogue he has with himself about what to do next, and he's like, I wish I wasn't the last. And so he's like, "I wish I wasn't the last one here." And it's not for me to go taking the ring, putting myself forward. He's like, the council, the people, they made Frodo the one to carry the ring. He's like, it's not for me to go forward taking the ring. And then his inner dialogue goes, "But you haven't put yourself forward. You've been put forward. And as for not being the right person, why, Mr. Frodo wasn't. And you might say, not Mr. Bilbo, who was the one who was carrying the ring before him. They didn't choose themselves." That's right out of the book. And that is a great example for me of what courage is. When he looks at him and goes, like, I can't be doing this. I'm not the right person for the job. And then that thought coming into his head, he's like, "Look, you didn't put yourself forward. You've been put in this position. What are you going to do with it?" And those of you who know the rest of the story know he picked up the ring himself and has the mind to go into Mordor alone to destroy the ring.
Yeah. So there's something there about a lot of times we think of courageous people as people who are willing to, walk into dangerous situations. Think of like a fireman walking into a burning building or something like that. But there's also an element of courage. I think I like that you highlighted that, Ryan, where if you are in that situation through no choice of your own, rising to the occasion.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you don't have to willingly choose to put yourself in harm's way, but if you find yourself in that situation where it would be a lot easier for me to just run away or to make another choice, owning up to it and saying, "Nope, I am in this situation now and I'm going to take a stand," is really an important part of what it means to have courage.
And lastly, one of my favorite parts about this whole scene is that the orcs show up after this whole thing. Sam's out of the way. He's hiding. He actually has the ring on, but that's a whole nother story. He's hiding, and the orcs show up and see that Shelob had been bested in combat. They see her, basically her blood and entrails and stuff, going off into her lair, and they're like, "Somebody beat her. Nobody's ever done that before." And they're freaking out. They're like, "There is a warrior on the loose near our outpost who is stronger than Shelob, and we've never seen anyone like that before." And they assume that it is an elven warrior carrying a battle axe. And Sam overhears them talking about this, and he's chuckling to himself. He's like, "I never thought of myself as a warrior before." And it's just really funny to me that it shows the assumptions that are made by others who don't really understand the idea of courage in this, that they never could have fathomed that somebody who is 3 feet tall and just with a loyalty and a love and courage to fight for his master, they never imagined that could happen. And so it didn't even enter the realm of possibility in their minds. So as we, as people, exemplify courage, other people may look and be like, you totally do not fit the mold for what I think a quote unquote hero should be. But that doesn't mean that you can't be in that position. Just like in the thought here where he says, I'm not right for the job. He's like, well, neither was Mr. Frodo and neither was Mr. Bilbo, but you're the one with the job. So what are you going to do with it? And now a word from our sponsors.
Dad Joke Corner.
Hey, Ryan, I was mugged by 6 dwarves last night.
Oh, yeah?
Not happy.
Hey, Dan.
Yeah.
A ham sandwich walks into a bar, and he orders his drink. The bartender turns to him and says, sorry, we don't serve food here. This has been Dad Joke Corner, preparing you for the future.
Dad Joke Corner.
You know, Ryan, there's a lot of bad advice out there, especially on the internet.
Mm-hmm.
And it can be hard to kind of come to terms with what should I be listening to? What shouldn't I be listening to? What's good advice? What's bad advice?
Oh, for sure.
So I think it should be our job here on this podcast to help our audience by exposing some of the bad advice that's out there in this segment called
Here's why you're wrong.
So I came across actually you came across this quote. Do you want to intro the quote since you came across it? I don't know.
I would, but it's not on my computer screen. So
great. Okay.
I'm not prepared.
Okay, great. So
we're
so we
professionals
came across this quote here on Twitter, everyone's favorite place to find great advice to live your life by.
Absolutely.
And it is a quote attributed to everyone's favorite talk show personality, Oprah Winfrey.
Mm-hmm.
And Oprah has this advice to say: I believe that the only courage anybody ever needs is the courage to follow your own dreams.
Beautiful. Oh,
Ryan, what do you think about that?
it strikes me right in the heart. I want to follow my heart now. And I want to go out on a limb and jump off the nearest edge that I can, because that's the dumbest quote I've ever heard in my life.
So for some of our audience who might be a little bit confused by that, why is this such a bad idea or such a bad piece of advice?
Because some dreams are stupid.
What do you mean, Ryan? I have dreams of being a flying superhero. So I'm pretty sure like Superman. So like I'm pretty sure if I just go like jump off the nearest tall building, that's my dream, Ryan. I just need the courage to follow that dream. It's the only courage I need.
I'm gonna insert a soundbite of somebody like the Wilhelm scream right now. As you're falling off a building. No, but sure, that's kind of a hyperbolic example. But I think of like, have you ever seen things like American Idol?
Yes.
You know, it's not so much that anymore, but you have like America's Got Talent and stuff. But do you remember those instances where people came on who were horrible singers?
Yeah, those are the best parts of the show.
Oh, absolutely. It was the best part of the show, but like people went on and they legitimately thought they were good. And then they sang and you're like, oh my gosh, I would rather listen to Nails on a Chalkboard. And they legitimately think that they sound good. They're delusional, right?
Yes.
Well, they had dreams of being singers, and that somebody needs to give them a dose of reality. It's like, you just don't have the talent to do it. You can work hard and you might be able to get to a point where you can sing on tune, but you're not gonna be like like Beyonce or, who's a famous male singer? I don't even know. Whoever the lead singer for Smash Mouth is.
Is Johnny Cash still around? I don't know. Yeah, you're right, because every dream, there are realistic dreams and there are unrealistic dreams. And there is nothing wrong with pursuing a realistic dream. But there is also, like, we've been talking about courage in this episode. It's not just blind courage. It's not just like randomly running into a bad situation or a purposely difficult thing and just saying, I have the courage, I can do this.
Mm-hmm.
Like, no, sometimes you need to know when to not do something.
Right. A callback to Sam, for instance. It's one thing for him to be like, I'm fighting for the life of someone, or I'm going to go in and prove to everybody that I'm the strongest. I'm going to take on Shelob myself.
Right.
There's two totally different things there.
Yeah, because that's not courage. That's just being dumb.
And prideful.
Yes.
Yeah.
And many other things that are not going to get you very far in life.
Exactly.
So it's fine to have courage and to follow dreams, but make sure that they are dreams that are good ones and not dumb Oprah Winfrey dreams.
Exactly. Apply a little bit of logic to thinking here. We live in a culture that's so bent on, I feel like I can do this, or I have a feeling that this is good for me. But it's like, okay, but looking in from the outside, like those singers and all that who are just not good, it's like, you might feel like it, but it's not true. Sorry. So
right.
Sometimes your feelings are not reality.
Correct.
You know what would make this podcast great?
What, Ryan?
A fiery debate where one of us makes it out alive.
Dun, dun, dun!
Debates from the annals of history.
So today's debate topic is probably going to cause many of you to have an aneurysm. We are debating whether a hot dog is a sandwich or not.
And I just want to come out right at the bat and say it doesn't matter what you think, Ryan, because my opinion is correct. And my opinion is that a hot dog is not a sandwich, and here's why. A sandwich
Please enlighten me.
Is something, substance, usually meat, not exclusively, that is placed between two slices of bread. Now, a hot dog bun is not two slices of bread. It is one continuous length of bread that is semi-bifurcated, but is not completely cut in two, and thus it is not a sandwich. It is not sandwiched between the bread. It is placed alongside it.
See, as the fatter of the two, I think I have a say when it comes to food expertise. So when it comes to hot dogs, whether they're a sandwich or not, you're just wrong. See, they are. I will give you the point that two pieces of bread usually is what a sandwich is consisting of, right? Two pieces of bread and whatever's in the middle. So I'll give you the sandwich, but I'm not going to argue from that point. I'm going to say, is a hot dog a panini or not? No. Hear me out, because a panini, this is when I'm going to lose most of the audience. But a panini is a sandwich.
Oh, that has already happened. No.
It is a sandwich. It is a sandwich because a panini is also a sandwich, right? A panini is a sandwich. You wrap the food that's inside of it in this bread. You wrap it in bread. It is surrounded by bread. See, I think your first mistake is assuming that a sandwich has to be something that has two slices of bread rather than a section of meat, whatever you want to put in there, surrounded by your carby load of bread. That's a sandwich.
I think that is making some bold assumptions about the nature of sandwiches, Ryan, because first of all, no one eats paninis. Like, no one cares about paninis. I don't know why you're bringing them up. You can keep your fancy frou foods, and I'll be over here with my peanut butter and jelly and my all-American ham and Swiss, because this is America, and we believe in two pieces of bread making a sandwich.
Okay, fine, if we want to go in that direction. So just 2 days ago, I made a sandwich. I made a ham and cheese sandwich. Okay? How do you think I made this sandwich?
Ryan, I think you took a piece of bread. I think on that piece of bread you placed ham and cheese and whatever other toppings, and then I think you took a second piece of bread and put it on top, and thus completed the sandwich making process.
See, you're so close. So, what ended up happening was I took a piece of bread and I covered it with ham and cheese, and then you know what I did? I folded that piece of bread in half, and I ate my ham and cheese sandwich because I'm fat and need to cut down on carbs. But here's the thing.
Are you trying to tell me that a hot dog is a diet approved food, Ryan? Is that the point you are trying to make right now? Because you're on the wrong side of history, my friend.
No, but that's awesome. That is an awesome point. No, but what I'm trying to say is if I took that one piece of bread and took the ham and cheese and I fold it in half, right? What would you call that?
Half of a sandwich.
It's half of a what?
Half of a sandwich is not a whole sandwich, Ryan.
But it is part sandwich. Okay?
It's sandwich adjacent. I will give you it is adjacent to a sandwich. I will not concede that it is, in fact, a sandwich.
Except that it is, no matter whether you're willing to concede it or not, there's no other word for it. So if I take one piece of bread, whether it's a hot dog bun or just a regular piece of bread, put a hot dog, the meat part in it, and then fill it with my condiments and fold it in half, that is adjacent sandwich. And so it's part of the sandwich family, therefore hot dog's a sandwich. Boom.
All right, well,
rest my case.
I think there's only one way of settling this, and that is because clearly we have both made compelling arguments. Well, at least one of us has. One of us has made compelling arguments, and the other of us has said that a hot dog is a diet sandwich. And I think that is for the audience to settle this. So if you are listening to this audience, you need to let us know who won this great debate of the ages. Is a hot dog a sandwich? Did I, with my logic and well-reasoned examples, did Ryan with his, I don't know what Ryan said, but did he win? Did Daniel win? That's for you to decide. Please let us know who you think decided this. And going forward in the future, we are hoping to continue having debates and other competitions, and we would like to have guest judges as part of this game. So if you are interested in being a guest judge on a future episode of Assemblymen and providing your opinion live on the air for who wins these debates and competitions, let us know. Send us a message, and we can reach out and hopefully get some of you as guests on this podcast who can help us figure out who is correct and who is incorrect in some of these debates.
Because our plan is to have live on air, like Dan was saying, have you live on air, pit and parcel between our arguments, or be the host, not necessarily the host, but be the one asking the questions for each of us in a competition.
We need a voice of reason.
Yes, we do.
You have just listened to one full episode, and it is very clear we need a voice of reason. We need you to be that voice of reason.
We need you to have the courage to step up, be that voice of reason, and vote for me in saying that I am right and that a hot dog is a sandwich. Have the courage to stand against the grain and be right. Thank you so much.
Or have the wisdom to know that that's not the thing you should be courageous about.
That'd be great, but today's theme is not wisdom. So, moving on. We thank you so much for listening. Thank you for taking the time to listen to our pilot episode of Assemblymen. We appreciate your feedback, your memes, whatever you have to offer. We love memes. So contact information is in the description below this MP3 file. So if you want to email us or send us messages on our page on Facebook or whatever, feel free.
Yeah, we would love to hear from you and love to get some comments and continue the conversation with you via social media and however you reach out.
And until next time, be courageous, my friends. Bye-bye.
Goodbye.